Have you ever wanted to go on a real life treasure hunt and dig literal money out of the ground? Well, gold prospecting might just be for you. We're super lucky in the developed world to have organizations advocating for gold prospecting, such as the PMAV here in Australia or the GPAA over in America. And there's so many resources online, such as my channel and my good friend Gadsy's The Buckshot Prospectors channel, where we walk you through step by step on how to find gold. But there's one question we get asked all the time, and that is, Chris, what do I even take out prospecting? So this is what's in my prospecting bag for 2024. Just like rivers and streams, sluice boxes come in all shapes and sizes. And what I've discovered above all else is that the sluice box size is less important than its transportability. I love using little 6-inch sluices just like this one because they fit in most backpacks. And you can get a heap of accessories for them, such as leg kits that make the setup and processing a lot easier. Size is one thing, but weight is a completely different one. We travel to some remote locations that can sometimes take over an hour to hike into, and in that case I would find that weight is more important than where I can fit it. And there comes in the thermoform sluices just like this one and the ones from Goldratt. I pick my sluice box based off a few things: my intention for the day, how far I have to travel from the car, how hot or cold it is, because traveling a long distance in extreme heat can be quite dangerous, especially if you're carrying a lot of weight, how I intend to process the dirt, and if I think this particular sluice looks cool on that day. A wider 10 or 12-inch sluice box like this one is going to allow you to shovel directly into it, and therefore it's going to be much faster because you don't necessarily have to classify. But that comes with the caveat of this is much bigger, much heavier, and I'm going to have to clean out more concentrates at the end of the day. So more often than not, I go back to the little 6-inch sluices. And it's not the size that matters. Sluice boxes are all about where you stick it. A sluice box this big will work perfectly in the right situations for the right ideas. Often I'll set something like this up if I'm crevicing. And if I am running a river sluice, I'm going to be taking 2 other key items with me: a classifier down to a 1/4 inch, as well as a bucket. The bucket's used to transport extra gear to the site, as well as transporting soils back to my sluice box. And the classifier is simply there to help me classify down dirt so that I can more efficiently run it through a sluice box if I have low water flow. More often than not, I don't even use a classifier because I find that even though you lose a little bit of gold from not classifying, you're going to gain a lot more back by processing more dirt. And it's just faster not to classify. I have a metric shit ton of metal detectors. This is the Garrett Axiom. This machine punches super freaking deep on relatively small targets, and it's for that reason that it must be said that you get what you pay for. My primary metal detecting setup is the GPX 6000 running an aftermarket coil by Coiltech. It's fantastic on depth, it's fantastic on small gold, but it's not the be all and end all. And given the price tag of $8,000, I'm also aware that it's not very accessible for a lot of people. You'll have just as much success with the Gold Monster 1000 or indeed the Macro Gold Cruiser like I've got behind me here in the right locations. And therefore, the reason I have so many metal detectors is I like to utilize all of them in the right circumstances. Usually I'll use the GPX 6000 to clean up an area and then come back with the Axiom and a smaller metal VLF metal detector, just like the Gold Cruiser or the Gold Monster, to mop up any of the tiny bits that I missed. My metal detecting stuff is pretty simple. Outside of the detector, I use a pick from Stumpy Picks, some of the best custom picks on the market currently, and I use a plastic scoop that I got from Lucky Strike Gold Prospecting Supplies. The last thing that you're going to see me using on a regular basis is a gold pan, and my gold pans couldn't be more varied. I use everything from a traditional Batea pan all the way through to some of the more quirky pans that you see coming on the market today. If I've discovered anything about panning, is it doesn't really matter what pan you pick as long as you become proficient with it. Proficiency simply means how fast can you pan with losing less than 5% of your gold. There's a wasp. Go away. My favorite pan is the simple $10 cheap black plastic pans you can buy on pretty much every prospecting site I've ever been to. These pans offer fantastic contrast on even the smallest pieces of gold. And whilst the other pans such as the Minelab and Garrett pans offer some unique capabilities within their deeper set riffles, the simple design on the black plastic pan riffles means that you don't get any bogging down, you don't create any clay balls, and it's much easier to retain gold where it should be in the first riffle on one of those black plastic pans than it is on any of the others. That's not to say that I don't use any of the others. I literally use every single other brand and type of pan there are. If I could recommend any, I would suggest the black plastic pans that you get off eBay, the XP panning kits, the Minelab kits, and the Garrett kits. They are all very solid choices. Some of the other tools that I use are multi-purpose. I don't like going out to the creek with the idea of only having one tool in my belt, but I also don't want to have to carry down 10 or 15 kilos worth of equipment and steel on my back for a maybe. So what I will often do is utilize tools that serve multiple purposes. A crevicing tool is great, but a crevicing tool that is a pry bar is greater. Multifunctional tools save you weight and they save you space in your backpack. A multi-tool is better than just a simple pocket knife. And there's a simple shortcut to all this is I'll take everything I think I need out into the creek maybe 2 times, and then whatever I find myself not using, I leave it home. Because at the end of the day, if I'm not using it for 2 trips, it's unlikely I'm going to need it. And then when the situation arises where I find myself needing that tool, I'll keep that in my memory bank so I can go back armed with the right piece of equipment. One of the most important things that you're going to need is the platform that gets all of this shit to the creek itself, and that is a backpack. I recommend highly going to a reputable camping store and talking to them about a supported backpack. I like to utilize backpacks that are over 45 liters in capacity, but usually no larger than 80. A 45 liter backpack will allow you to fit a pair of gumboots, a yabby pump, your pans, and a bunch of other tools plus your water and lunch in there, as long as you have some places to attach carabiners so you can hang pans and classifiers off it. And don't forget, you're carrying a bucket. Here in Australia, it's incredibly important to have access to clean, fresh drinking water, as is a lot of places around the world when it comes summertime. So I find myself often in summer not being able to take adequate water out to the creek with me because of weight and size restrictions. Therefore, I will bring a filter bottle instead. These filter bottles remove most of the parasites and chemicals, so you don't end up with a tapeworm eating your brain. I am also utilizing a bunch of rock crushing gear, including an RC1 rock crusher, a series of small dolly pots, as well as the small angle grinded rock crusher that I got from Stumpy Picks. All of these machines are really basic and simple in their operation, and they're only really designed for sampling. But even when sampling, it's important to remember safety when it comes to crushing rock. Silicosis is no joke. It will turn your lungs to a scarred up mess, and therefore proper respirators are a must. Respirators like this are fantastic because they offer a multi-system filtration system. But if you have a beard like me and you're dealing with crushed quartz, you're going to want to run a positive pressure system. They are quite expensive, but then again, how much is your life worth to you? And when it comes to sampling, unfortunately here in Victoria, Australia, I am limited to hand tools only to extract it out of the face. That means that I have invested a lot of money in a gym setup at home so I can get super strong to swing a hammer and chisel. It's really that archaic. Now, if I don't have it in my backpack, it's probably in Gadsy's backpack, and I mooch off that guy a lot. There's one thing that I know isn't in his backpack or in my backpack that we carry with us all the time, and that is our knowledge, because that's stored in our brains. Knowledge is garnered through experience, and experience is garnered through community. We are lucky as prospectors to have an amazing community, and organizations such as the PMAV and GPAA who offer opportunities for prospectors to get out there for the first time. These organizations have been around for an extremely long time. They require a very minimal input when it comes to membership fees, and what you get in return is decades of experience from members who know what they're talking about. I've had personal conversations with both people from the PMAV here in Australia and recently the GPAA over in America, and what I can tell you is that they are passionate about gold prospecting, and these are the people that are going to catapult gold prospecting not only for us, but well into the future for our children and hopefully our children's children, when gold's worth $50,000 an ounce and we'll be the old timers. I've been super lucky in my gold prospecting career to be able to travel right across the world and hunt for gold in some of the most beautiful and remote locations on Earth. And if it's one thing that I've learned above all else in doing this, it's that it's not the gear that you use, it's the knowledge you garner. Gold fundamentally works the same no matter where you are, anywhere on Earth. The only difference is how hard it is to access. Whether you have to buy a claim, or you're doing it nefariously out in the middle of the Russian wilderness, trying to avoid the police officers and the AK-47s. The next person I'd like to nominate for the What's in Your Bag challenge is Chasing Gold Australia. Hopefully we'll be seeing his video soon. Until next time, I'll catch you later.